Welcome to Shiksha Bhakti Steps. Um, there are prayers on my screen. You can repeat, you can chant with me. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Shri Gurun Vaishnavansh श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीशाखान्वितां च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि विषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome to Bhakti Steps. We are reading chapter number 13 of Bhagavad Gita, and we completed first three verses. Now we'll move to the fourth verse. So in this particular chapter, Arjuna first asks, I want to know these things: Purusha, Prakriti, field, knower of field, knowledge, object of knowledge. And Krishna, he starts explaining what are all these things. So first he says the field is the body. The body is the field. So we get this field so that we can do all our activities, desires, karma, everything. So the Kshetra is the field. Kshetragnya. Kshetragnya is who knows this field. Who knows this field? The Jiva. The Jiva knows this field. The Jiva is the Atma. The Atma knows the field. There is one more person sitting inside it with the Atma, that is Paramatma. Yeah. The Jiva and the Paramatma is there in this Kshetra, and the Kshetra is our body. Right? That's what we read. And we went through the differences between body, soul, super soul. And the most important thing were the last two, that is, the body doesn't know about itself. Okay, it is dead. The soul knows about his own body, but the super soul, he knows about this body and all the bodies that are there. Similarly, the soul, the super soul can control all the bodies, and the soul can control only its own body. So this much Krishna has explained, and now we'll move into the next verse. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity, that is this body, and how it's constituted, what its changes are, and whence it is produced, and who that knower of the field or activity is, and what his influences are. Okay, so what this field of activity is, what it is made of, what changes it happens, when it is produced, who is the knower, and what he can do with this field. Okay, so I need someone to read this highlighted section, yellow highlighted section. Can someone read?
Yes, bro, I'll read.
Okay, go ahead.
One has to know how this body is constituted, the materials of which this body is made, under whose control this body is working, how the changes are taking place, where from the changes are coming, what the causes are, what the reasons are, what the ultimate goal of the individual soul is, and what the actual form of the individual soul is, One should also know the distinction between the individual living soul and the super soul, their different influences, their potentials, etc. One just has to understand this Bhagavad Gita directly from the description given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all this will be clarified. But one should be careful not to consider the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every body to be one with the individual soul, the Jiva. This is something like equating the potent and the important.
Okay. So, people work in offices, right? Right? So when one joins a office, he gets this cube, right, to work in it. Yes or no? So this is like the kshetra the person is given. Okay, the employee is given a kshetra, and he's giving a lot of devices like computer, mobile, keyboard, printer, a lot of documents. Getting? So this is his kshetra. So what is this kshetra made of? Table, computer, documents, chair, right? So now what is the aim of this? What the aim of the employee here?
Is to work.
Yeah, it's to work. It's not to play games or to browse internet, right? Which people do generally. But that's the thing. When we got this body, what is our aim? Hmm? What is the aim? What it is made of? What is actual form of the individual soul? And what is the distinction between, sorry, where the changes are coming from, what the causes are, what the reasons are? Okay. And then what is my role? Right? What is my role here? How can I, what should I do? So all these questions should be there in our mind, basically. Okay. And then who is the boss here? Hmm? And that I need to listen. I need to take instructions from. What is our project? Right? If the employee doesn't ask these questions, what will happen? He will simply do time pass. Because he said, मेरे को किसी ने कुछ बताया नहीं. Nobody told me anything. I am just sitting. Right? So we got this kshetra, that is this body, and we are almost doing like this only. I don't know what I think I just have to eat, sleep, and you know, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. I think that's all I need to do. There is no spiritual activity that the soul knows when he comes into this body. So he has to be taught all that. Okay, so all these questions are very very important. Just like that employee should ask the question, okay, now what is my role, what is my job, what is the project going on, right? Who is the boss, who is the second level manager, who is the third level manager, who is the customer? All these questions, then he can work properly, right? Similarly, when we got this body, now we need to ask all these questions. Who is super soul, who is soul, what is karma, how to use this best body for the goal of life. What is the ultimate goal? The employee may ask, what is my ultimate goal? And the boss will say the ultimate goal is that you perform your role in getting this project successfully delivered, right, to the customer, and the customer is happy and he has paid us and we are making profit. That is the goal. Similarly, what is the goal of our human body? We need to understand that. Okay. Now if the employee thinks he is equal to the boss, then he is completely wrong, right? So it is like equating potent to the impotent. So we should not think that the Supreme Lord is there within me. So now he is also equal to me. Like, a teacher may teach a student, okay, A for apple, B for ball, or 1 plus 1 is equal to, and then the child says 2. And then the child says, teacher, you are also learning. Child thinks that, he's teaching me and he's learning also at the same time. Is that right? No, right? The teacher is teaching. So we can't equate to teacher to the student just because they are sitting together. Okay, so just because the super soul and soul are together, it doesn't mean they're equal. Hmm? You understand this point? Because there are many organizations outside, they call themselves spiritual and they say that you are God, right? They say you are God, but we are never God. Why we are never God? If we were God, then we would not have been suffering so much. There won't be any problems in our life, right? Then how come they say that we are God? Do you know why they say we are God? You are God, I am God. Can you tell me? Have you heard such philosophy? You are God, I am God, everyone is God.
They take load at the same platform, and so that we can enjoy more
You
in
know
this
why?
material life.
Why do they say such things? They call themselves spiritual, they call themselves Vedic followers, but they come to this conclusion that you are God, I am God, everyone is God.
So,
You can become God.
Prabhuji, they do not believe on the like personal form of Krishna because they
No,
believe
why?
on the impersonal form.
Why? So there are actually few statements in Vedas which they misinterpret. I'll take two statements. Aham Brahmasmi. This is right. Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi and you are that. Tattvam Asi. These are very um, famous statements of the Vedas. You are that, and I am Brahman. Brahman. I am Brahman. So what does this mean is, I am Brahman means I am spiritual. Okay. And everything has come from the Brahman. So I am that Brahman, so I become the Brahman. That is how they conclude. And then another statement in Vedas, it says, Tattvamasi, you are that. Now, you are that could mean you are God. That is how they conclude. So what is our Vaishnava understanding of these two statements? Aham Brahmasmi is, I am spiritual. That is basically I am spirit soul. Okay. But not para Brahman. That is super soul. Okay. I am Brahman, fine. But am I para Brahman? No. You are that. I am of same quality of Brahman, but not in same quantity. So this is Vaishnava understanding. You are that is fine. Yes, I am of course the soul, and the soul is Satchidananda Vigraha, and the super soul is Satchidananda Vigraha. The Brahman is spirit, the Brahman is spiritual. I am also spiritual, fine. But am I equal to it? No. I am small, Anu, and that is Vibhu. That is big, unlimited. I am limited. Even in the spiritual form, also I am limited only in one sense. So the wrong translations, the wrong conclusion of these two statements lead to say that you are equal to God and you can become God. That is how they wrongly conclude. And this philosophy that they wrongly conclude you are God is called Mayavadi philosophy. What it is called? Mayavadi philosophy. Okay, so that's why it's not right to equate. So this is how in the purport Prabhupada talks about this point, because it's a well-known philosophy outside where they equate God and with you and say you are God, everyone is God, I'm God, we can become God, we can merge into Brahman. Yes, of course we can merge into Brahman, that is fine, there is a way to merge into Brahman, but you can never become Brahman, equal to Brahman, sorry, you can never equal to Brahman, you will remain your individual soul. Okay. Text number 5. That knowledge of field of activities and of knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra and all the reasoning as to the cause and effect. Okay, so the Vedanta Sutra, the sages, that is Rishi Munis, they have also described this field of activity, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Okay, and I'm going to give you the same example. Hmm? So this is how Krishna as a teacher says this philosophy is not that I am speaking, it is known to all the sages also. Getting? So why does he says this thing? Because he wants to say that I am not the only one saying this philosophy. Okay, Rishi Munis were also saying the same philosophy. What is the advantage by saying this thing? That the sages also say the same philosophy. Why do you think Krishna is including the sages here? Any thought?
Uh, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra.
Yeah, it is Guru Sadhu Shastra. Yes, that is the right answer. That Krishna doesn't is not speaking which is not in Shastra. He is specifying that the previous sages also said, and it is there in the Shastra also. So Krishna is here as a teacher. So teacher should tell, na? See, this is the formula. E is equal to mc square. Now this is in the physics books also, and many physicists also know this, right? Then we can put trust in him, right? Because then he can show, okay, it is in the books also and it is practiced also. So Krishna as a teacher, he mentions this sages and the Vedanta Sutra. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, because this is topic of spirit and super soul, it is very technical also. Okay, this is all technical philosophy that will go through the purports. So can someone read this section?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Go ahead.
The
Yeah.
Supreme Personality of yes, yes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyadavyas, the author of the Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And in the Vedanta Sutra, the duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadev's father, Parasara, is also a great sage, and he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam
So
Ta
Tathayante.
Ta Tathanyam. We, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental,
See
although
this
in material
this
bodies.
statement, right? Aham tvam tathyante is same as tattvamasi. Okay, it is same as that. That you, me, everyone are transcendental. Basically, spiritual, although in material body. Yeah, go ahead.
Now we are fallen into the ways of the three modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in the lower nature. The higher and lower natures exist due to ignorance and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul and the super soul and the body is made, especially in the Katha Upanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this, and Parasara is considered principal among them. The
Tatraya Upanishad.
Taittiriya
Taittiriya
Upanishad,
Upanishad.
for example, which is which is a branch of the
Yajurveda.
Yajurveda, describes nature, the living entity, and the supreme personality of Godhead. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetra Gnana, the individual living entity and the supreme living entity. As stated in the
Taitriya,
Taittiriya
Taitriya Upanishad.
Upanishad,
Yeah. Brahman Ucham
Brahma
Pratishtata.
Ucham Pratishtata. There is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is a materialistic realization.
Ha. Anyamaya,
This
Pranamaya.
materialistic.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, Prabhu. I thought you were saying something. Sorry.
No, no.
There is a materialistic realization of the Supreme when in
Pranamaya.
realizing the supreme absolute truth in food, pranamaya. After realizing the supreme absolute truth in food, one can realize the absolute truth in the living symptoms or life forms. In Gnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnanamaya, in which the living entity, mind, and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity's mind, uh, living entity himself. The next and supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are five stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahma Pucham. Out of these, the first three, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Gnanamaya, involve the fields of activities of the living entities. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. The Vedanta Sutra also describes the Supreme by saying Anandamayo Bhashyat. Yes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Gnanamaya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be the enjoyer, and different from him is the Anandamaya. That means that if the living entity decides to enjoy in detailing himself with the Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect.
Yeah, this last paragraph.
It is mentioned, yes, Guru. It is mentioned here that the codes of the Brahma Sutra are very nicely arranged according to cause and effect. Some of the sutras are aphorisms or naviyas ashruteha 2.3.2.
It's okay. Go with
Not
English. Yeah, go with English. Parattu Tachute.
paratu.
Hmm.
Uh, the first aphorism indicates the field of activities, the second indicates the living entity, and the third indicates the Supreme Lord. The summum bonum among all the manifestations of various entities. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay. 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 So very important concept. Um, Brahma Pucham. Brahma Pucham. So there are five stages for Brahma Pucham. Anandmay, Pranmay, Gyanmay, Vigyanmay, and Anandamay. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Gyanamaya, Vigyanamaya, Anandamaya. So Annamaya is the Supreme Lord. Okay, okay. Just to explain it. See, this body is there, na? What does this body require? to
Food,
survive.
food product.
Food, oxygen, right? Water, right? So the soul's activity in this field will be to provide this body food, water, and what I said, food, water, and oxygen, right? So where are we? So that is Annamaya. The Supreme Lord only expands into Annamaya to give us energy to be used in the Kshetra. Getting? So Kshetra is field of activities. We'll perform this field of activities if we have Anna. We have food. And the Supreme Lord only expands into food and gives us. That's it. Second is Jnanamaya. Jnanamaya is to understand like there are other beings around us. And we have thinking, willing, and feeling and willing ability in us. Okay. Then there is Vijnanamaya. Sorry, then actually there is Pranamaya. Sorry, I missed the point. Then in Pranamaya is to see the prana, the different living forces, life forms that we are surrounded with, people, animals. Okay. And in Jnanamaya, we understand that we have ability to think, feel, and will. Okay. So in the Kshetra, we do all these three things. We eat, we make relationships, friendships, etc. And we take independent decisions, feels, emotions, like that. Okay. So in the Kshetra, we do all these three things. Then there is Vijnanamaya. This Vijnanamaya is where the living entity understands that he is different from the Kshetra. The identity. So the living entity understands his identity as the soul. That is Vijnanamaya. And Anandamaya is when the soul interacts with the super soul in relationship, in prayers, all that. So that is Anandamaya. So the Vedanta Sutra says Anandamaya Bhashyat. Anandamaya Bhashyat. What does that mean? It says that the Supreme Lord is nature full of joy. Okay. So transcend from the Annamaya, from the Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and come to Anandamaya platform. See, this Vijnana and Anandamaya is actually the spiritual activities. And Jnanamaya, Pranamaya, and Annamaya are the material activities one has to perform in the Kshetra. Like I was saying, a worker may have his own cube, but he needs to understand what work he needs to do. Okay. And he needs to listen to the boss also. Getting? So when we got this Kshetra, which is our office cube, this is our office cube, we have 5 activities to be done. One is to maintain this Kshetra, we need Anna, right? Then there are relationships with other living beings, with this body, husband, wife, society, children, grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, all these relationships this Kshetra makes, right? That is Pranamaya. Then Jnanamaya. I can independently do things, ability to do certain things, right? To become certain things, to become a person in our life, a successful person, or businessman, or a fighter, or a politician, or a worker, all that thinking, feeling, willing is there. So we use this Kshetra and we do all those activities. But that is not enough. There are 2 more things that need to be done. That is what? First is understand that you are not the Kshetra. You are Kshetrajna, one who knows the Kshetra, one who is the owner of the Kshetra. And then there is another Kshetrajna who is the super soul, and we need to establish relationship between it. So when we understand we are separate from the Kshetra, that is Vijnanamaya. And when we establish relationship with the super soul, that is Anandamaya. And the Vedas say That the Supreme is Anandamayo Bhasyat. He's joyful. So you will become joyful if you connect with him. Getting? If you connect with him. So this is how Vedanta Sutra's philosophy is there. Any question on this? Okay.
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, no problem. Okay, now text number 6 and 7. The five great elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, intelligence, and unmanifested. And the unmanifested. The unmanifested. This is. Okay, this is Pradhana. Unmanifested Pradhana. The 10 senses, the mind. 10 senses. Do we have 10 senses? Or 5 senses? We have 5 working senses and we have 5 knowledge gathering senses. So it becomes 10. The mind, the 5 sense objects. 5 sense objects. Meaning the objects of the senses. Eyes need something very beautiful. The nose needs very fragrant. So that is the object. The tongue needs good food. The taste. Like that. So there are 5 sense objects. Then desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and interactions. So in the field we do all these things. Okay, being in this body we do all these things. What do? We have earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, unmanifested, 10 senses, mind, all that. And then we do desire, hatred. This is thinking, willing, feeling. Okay, happiness, distress, life symptoms, and convictions. I think I am like this. I think I am so and so person. Like that. So this is all what is happening in our body. This is how the Vedanta Sutra explains. Okay. Okay. So somebody read this section. The components of this world. Anyone?
Yes, Prabhu.
Go
The
ahead.
components of this world. The components of this world can be understood as follows. First, there are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These are the 5 great elements, Mahabhuta. Then there are false ego, intelligence, and the unmanifested stage of the 3 modes of nature. Then there are 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Then 5 working senses, voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. Then
Yes.
above the senses,
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
there is the mind, which is within and which can be called the sense within. Therefore, Therefore, including the mind, there are 11 senses together. Then there are the 5 objects of the senses: smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. Now, the aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity. If one makes an analytic study of these 24 subjects, then he can very well understand the field of activity. Then there are desire, hatred, happiness, and distress, which are interactions, representations of the 5 great elements in the gross body. The living symptoms, represented by consciousness and convictions, are the manifestation of the subtle body, mind, ego, and intelligence. These subtle elements are included within the field of activities.
Yeah. Okay. Technical. Go ahead.
The 5 great elements are a gross representation of the false ego, which in turn represents the primal stage of false ego, technically called the materialistic conception or tams buddhi, intelligence in ignorance. This further represents the unmanifested stage of the 3 modes of material nature. The unmanifested mode of material nature are called pradhana. One who desires to know the 24 element in detail along with their interactions should study the philosophy in more detail. In Bhagavad Gita, a summary only is given. The body is the present representation of all these factors, and there are changes of the body, which are 6 in numbers. The body is born, it grows, it stays, it produces byproducts, then it begins to decay, and at the last stage it vanishes. Therefore, the field is a non-permanent material thing. However, the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, its proprietor, is different.
Yeah. So all this, analytical study, it is called, okay, it's called Sankhya Yoga. What is it called? Sankhya Yoga. Sorry, I'm not prepared. It's spread in the purport, na? So I want to show you a table which will make it easy for us to. Okay. Yes. So there is a philosophy called as Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. In Sankhya Yoga, what the spiritualists do is that they study these 24 elements that are there within this kshetra, and then they try to identify whether I am that thing or not. Like five great elements: earth, water, fire, and ether. Five sense objects: touch, smell, form, taste. 11 senses, including the mind, the working and the knowledge gathering. The intelligence falls ego. Am I that? Unmanifested state called pradhana. Interaction of the gross body. See, when we interact with the gross body, we get happiness and distress. Can you explain me how do we get happiness and distress when we interact with the gross body?
We can feel those only if we have that body.
Okay. See, this gross body is earth, water, fire, and ether, right? Flesh, blown, uh, our body parts, and all that. Okay, right? This gross body is the material body, which is our eyes, nose, flesh, blood, bones, right? So when we interact with it, we get happiness or distress. How? Very simple. If you eat gulab jamun, what will you get? If you eat
We
gulab
get
jamun, what will you get?
We
Happiness
will
or
get
distress?
happy.
taste,
What?
happiness.
Happiness. Okay. If you eat what? If you eat green chili, what will you get?
Stress.
Distress. So when we interact, the body will tell us, I like it or don't like it. So immediately we get happiness or distress. Desire, hatred. Same thing. What is good for the body, we desire. What is not good for the body, that becomes hate. Like that. Interactions with the subtle body. Subtle body is the mind, intelligence. The living symptoms represented by consciousness and convictions. Conviction. I am so and so. I am Mr. or I am Mrs. All that conviction is with the mind. Okay? The mind only thinks. I have become now this person. Right? The body doesn't, the body remains the same, right? But the mind thinks. So that is the interaction. And pradhana. Pradhana is the five great elements: earth, water, fire, ether. Hmm? Okay. So in Bhagavad Gita, this is just a summary, but in Sankhya Yoga, it is very much detailedly explained. Six changes to the body: birth, then it grows, it stays, byproducts, decay, death. These are called as vikaras. Okay. 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 Any question on this? Any question on this?
Prabhuji, can you explain the pradhana, that unmanifested?
Pradhana, right? Hmm. So, where is the? Where it is? Sorry. Yeah. See, this tamas word is used, na? the three modes, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. This is also there in the material world, right? Goodness, passion, ignorance. So the five great elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are also in the three modes. So all this mix of everything is called pradhana, unmanifested. You know, got it? Basically the three modes, you can say like that.
Okay.
See, this is a very technical science, okay? And Bhagavad Gita is only giving summary. And this is for Sankhya Yoga people. These Sankhya Yoga people, they will leave home, they will do tapasya, and they will read Upanishads. Lot of Upanishads they will read. They'll use their intelligence, and they will study, and they will observe. They'll do the tapasya like that, and they will go from one element to another until they cover all the 24 elements, and they come to the understanding that I am not the body but the soul. Okay. Now, after the soul, to understand Anandamaya Bhyasat, the super soul, it takes time. It takes association of a devotee. So that is the thing. Even Sankhya Yoga can get you there, but ultimately you need association of a devotee to jump from Sankhya Yoga to Bhakti Yoga, like that. So anyway, yeah, as Prabhupada said, very summary is given, and even I am not very expert in all this matter. Even in Bhagavatam there is a section which explains this, but again that is also summary only. Okay, so now one of the longest purport in Bhagavad Gita as it is this particular section 8 to 12. So here is what Krishna defines as knowledge. Okay, when I ask you, okay, what is knowledge? What is your answer? If I say what is knowledge? What is your answer?
Yeah, knowing I am not this body, I am the spirit soul.
Oh, that you learned. Let's say, we ask some graduate, PhD guy, what is knowledge? What is the answer? He will say physics, chemistry, mathematics, economics, civil, finance. This is the knowledge, right? For him, that is the definition of knowledge. If you know all these things, that is knowledge. Agreed?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Now we'll understand from Bhagavad Gita perspective what is knowledge. I wanted to explain, no? So, very interestingly, Krishna is saying certain things which we will be hearing for the first time. Oh, this is knowledge. What it is? Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, ahimsa, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from general mass of the people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for absolute truth. All this I declare to be knowledge. And beside this, whatever it may be is ignorance. Okay, before we jump into this, did you read anything about physics, chemistry, mathematics, finance here? Medical, astrology, astronomy? Did you read anything of this?
No problem.
So where do they fall in? Do they fall in knowledge?
No.
What is the word that Krishna has used that they will fall in?
Ignorance.
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 Okay. Very interesting. We will go to the exact verse and we will see. Let's see. Ajnanam. What word Krishna has used? Ajnanam. Jnanam, ajnanam. Now, my question to you is that, none of my subjects from first standard to graduation to PhD appear in this list, right? None of it appears in this list. Agreed? So, should we study or not study? You have your son or daughter. None of the list appears in the Bhagavad Gita. Should we study or not study physics, chemistry, mathematics? No? Krishna uses the word ajnana, ignorance. So, will you send your child to your school? That is my question. Will you make them learn finance, medical, law? Tell me.
Prabhu, that is required to earn the money.
Yeah, but
So
here,
that
it is
can mention
ignorance.
importance.
It's ignorance. It's ajnanam.
Yes,
Why to put effort in that? So how will you reconcile both? How will you reconcile both knowledge and ignorance? How will you reconcile both jnanam and ajnanam? How will you reconcile both?
Prabhu, if you utilize that in the service of Lord,
Okay, good. Yeah, you have to utilize in the service of. Yes, yeah. That is one answer, definitely. But do you know any Shastric proof? Have you read Ishopanishad? Have you read Ishopanishad?
No, Prabhu.
No, no? Okay.
no, Prabhu.
Okay, fine. No problem. No problem. So in this, in the 11th mantra, Krishna says, how to reconcile both. Vidyamsa avidyamsa. Vidyamsa avidyamsa, yes. Tad vedobhyam saha avidyaya mrityum tritva vidya amritam ashnute. What it says is, only one who can learn the process of nations. Meaning, the process of nations is ignorance. And Krishna is saying, oh, we need to learn the process of ignorance and that of the transcendental knowledge. Side by side. Interesting word, right? Side by side. Simultaneously. Okay? Can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So, if we want to come out and get moksha, then we should learn the process of nations, ignorance, and transcendental knowledge side by side. Getting? So that's why we have to send our children to learn physics, chemistry, mathematics. But here it is set side by side. So we have to teach them Bhagavad Gita also, so that they get transcendental knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Getting? So here is where we reconcile. Here is where we reconcile. And we come to a balance. Okay? Understand? Do you understand this thing?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
So in
Yes,
Ishopanishad
Prabhu.
only Krishna says. Yeah. Question? Any question?
No, Prabhu, no.
Okay. Yeah. So we should not do one-sided attempts. One-sided attempt means only, nations or only transcendental. It is actually a balance. Getting? Actually a balance.
Prabhu, why the balance is required? Like if the only
Like you said, now we have to live in this world.
Okay.
We have to see, there are 5 things that we discussed. There are 5 things that we discussed. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So Annamaya is food. So it is not like we have to give up. We have to eat food.
Yeah, yes,
Right?
got it.
Pranamaya is, the other living forms around us, relationships with them. Jnanamaya is our ability. So this comes under ignorance only. but it's not exactly ignorance. It's called avidya. Why? Because it is only dealing with body, but it is not telling us to give up, right? Like Brahmapucham includes these three things. Getting? It doesn't exclude it, but it says don't forget the other two. What are those? Vidya. What is the Vidya? For the soul. What is it? Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. Understand you're different from the Kshetra, from the body. Then there is another Kshetrajna, and we have to revive our relationship with him in Bhakti. Okay? Getting?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So yeah, this is connected with that. Okay, this is connected with the statement, and then of course in Ishopanishad we are reading the path of avidya. If we only go on the path, then we'll have simply have repeated birth and death. Why? Because we are simply doing eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Okay, but is are we to exclude eating, sleeping, mating, defending? No, otherwise we'll die, na? We can't even live. But if we neglect the spirit soul, then it is avidya. But if we take care of the spirit soul plus we take care of the avidya, that is eating, sleeping, mating, defending, then we can get moksha from birth and death. That's what it is. Simply doing avidya will take us into repeated birth and death. Therefore, we need the culture of vidya, which is essential for the human being. We should not end up in unrestricted sense enjoyment by simply doing avidya. We should do tapasya in spiritual life. Okay. Okay. So, on the contrary, we should develop culture of spiritual knowledge so that we can become completely free of the cruel hands of death. I'm just going through this purport. There are some things. See, misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development. We want to only follow religion for economic development. Some people say like that. Because we have to do sense gratification. I have to enjoy eating, sleeping, mating, defending. I will do some religion. I'll get some punya. I'll go to Swargaloka, live long life, have a very strong body. In Swargaloka, there is no birth, there is no old age, there is no disease. Even death is also very different over there. So he will use that religion to do that, but actually that is not the purpose. The purpose is to maintain a body in sound and healthy condition, and then with that healthy mind, body, go for vidya, that is spiritual life. Then you can perfect it. See, for spiritual life we need a good healthy body also, right? Healthy body and mind, right? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhu.
So that's why it has to be done side by side. It has to be balanced out. So when we say balanced out, it means this only, that we will keep a body which is healthy and mind which is healthy, so that our spiritual life also continues nicely. See, unless religion, economic development, sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service, spiritual life to the Lord, they are simply different form of nations. So these things, they become nations if we don't put it in devotional service or spiritual life. This is what Ishwar Upanishad explains. Getting? Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we ran out of time. We'll do this next week. Any questions or comments? Any question or comment?
Prabhuji, in that translation, it's talk about the qualities, right? Humility, all these are qualities Krishna is telling. No? So
Yeah.
Krishna is
See, the
saying
thing is
those
that
qualities are the knowledge.
your knowledge is vidya. Okay. So vidya, right, is a Sanskrit word and knowledge is an English word, and it is not equal to. Okay, it is not an equal to word. It is the closest word which explains vidya. So a person is said to be knowledgeable. A person is said to be vidyavan. If he is humble, if he is prideless, if he is non-violence. Now you understand? So the way the Vedic literature explains, the Vedic philosophy is, if somebody is vidyavan, then he should be humility. Technical word. Amanitvam adambhitvam. Ahimsam shantim arjavam. Acharya upasanam saucham sthairam atma vinigraha. Indriya arteshu. So, a vidyavan person will have all these qualities and convictions and the process. Okay, and understanding like that. So vidya word encompasses knowledge, process of knowledge, qualities, everything. Getting?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So when we translate Sanskrit into another language, this is the problem. We are, it's like a big pipe and we are connected a small pipe to it. You won't get the same flow. You understand? You won't get the same flow. If someone is trying to put a watermelon in your mouth, what will happen? You will say cut the
We can't.
watermelon and put. Don't put the whole water. So this is what is happening when we translate Sanskrit to English. It's like putting a watermelon, full watermelon, into the mouth of the person. It is not equal to translation. So yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Rosie, I have one question, Rosie.
Go ahead.
Rosie, why this Jnana Yoga from chapter 13 to 18 has come in the third sequence?
Right. Yesterday we discussed, right? You were there. I gave this
Yes.
example of jewelry box. You were there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of a jewelry box? What is the purpose?
To hide the precious item inside it.
Yeah, to protect, right? To protect the valuable. So what is the valuable thing in Bhagavad Gita? The middle 6 chapters. It is not like, it is valuable. Everything is valuable. 18 chapter is valuable. But the most confidential knowledge is where? 7 to 12. So 1 to 6, 3 to 13 to 8 is like the protection, the covering on it. That is one answer. Second answer is 1st to 6 talks about karma, 7 to 12 talks about bhakti. And Gyan Yoga, as I explained, 13 to 18, we require this knowledge so as we can navigate in this world. I was talking about navigation. Navigation means how to live in this world. Now I understand I need to go back home, back to Godhead. But this world is very complicated, isn't it? Is it complicated or not complicated?
Complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated. Krishna says it is very complicated. Krishna says you can't overcome the 3 modes of material nature. Daivi Esha Gunamaya Mahamaya Durattaya. Only you have to surrender to me. Now I have understood how to surrender. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam, all that. But I am living in this material world. I may do some mistakes. Why? Because 3 modes are working against me. Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamogun. I am not a pure devotee. At the night, I have to sleep. Yes or no? There we have in our
Yes.
parampara Raghunath Das Goswami, who used to drink few drops of dahi, few drops of buttermilk every 3 days. That kind of tapasya we cannot do. If we try to do, we will die. We have to eat 3 meals a day to survive. Right? So how do we dovetail all our material activities in such a way that it helps our spiritual activity. So for that we need knowledge. So for that this 13 to 18 chapter is there, of which first we are discussing Kshetragnya, the body, the soul, the super soul, the material nature. Then material nature expanded. Three modes: Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. Then the yoga of the person, how this material world is, upside down thing, how to come out of it. Then we have divine and demonic natures, huh? Meaning we have good nature, we have bad nature. Somebody is only good, somebody is only bad, but most of us are combination of good plus bad, right? So with that we will have some faith. Our faith will be good and bad plus very various permutation combination. So how we'll react with this world, how we'll get things. So like that, so how to perfect from this, how to perfect our situation from imperfect situation. That is the 17th chapter. 18th chapter is summary of whole Bhagavad Gita. So that's why the Gyan Yoga is there. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. You can think of navigation. You need knowledge. Now I understood. Devotional service I have to do. Hey, but how should I do living in this world? And as we go into this, yeah. Go ahead.
I think because we have gone through the Gita course, and we have gone through the phase in which Karma Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, we are able to correlate. But as a layman, if a person read 13th chapter, then go to first to sixth, and then Bhakti Yoga, he will get to know the sequence if he is really understanding what is required.
No.
Is that?
No. It's not like that. It's not like that. See, Bhagavad Gita, you can consider it as a crash course in philosophy also. Okay. So a lot of sutras are said in Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. A lot of sutras are there. And they have to be used. Like we are in Jnana Yoga, right? We are getting Jnana. But we have to still do Karma. We have to still do Bhakti. It's not like we have to just go into Jnana. No. We have to use them in doing Karma. We have to use them in doing Bhakti. So consider it to be like a package. And definitely the sequence is building up from first chapter to 18th chapter. Okay. And the sequence is that Arjuna first says, I don't want to perform my duty. So first he had to be convinced that he has to do his duty. Getting? Okay. So therefore Krishna had to talk Karma Yoga. But then he talks about yoga, connect with the Supreme. Then he has to spend some time telling, who is the Supreme, how to connect. Then he has to tell, I am that Supreme. He has to give his knowledge. Then he has to show he is the Supreme. Virat Rupa. Everything in him and he in everything. Then he has to say, I know you live in this world. This world is very difficult. So I will give you how to overcome the three modes of material nature. And I will just show you what is there in this. Okay? The three modes of material nature. Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. Okay? Psychological type. Sattvagun will be happy. Ramogun will be Rajogun will be active. This one will be helpless. Tamogun will be helpless. Goodness person will be binded with knowledge, happiness. Fruitive work is for the passionate. Sleep, indolence, insanity is for ignorance. Like this. So if somebody does an activity which is influenced by goodness, then he will get pure and happy results. But if he goes with too much passion, it will be misery. Okay. So similarly, when we do bhakti, we should do it in goodness. Okay. If we do bhakti in passion, what will happen? Misery will happen. If we do bhakti in good ignorance, what will happen? Foolishness, nonsense will happen. If one chants while sleeping, what it is? Happiness, misery, or foolishness? You all may be chanting 1-2 rounds, right?
Happiness, bro.
But you're chanting in sleeping.
It's a foolishness.
It is foolishness because you're not able to focus. At the time of sleep, sleep. At the time of chant, chant. You are not Haridas Thakur, or neither you are Arjuna. While Arjuna, while sleeping also he was chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So for us, we need to know, okay, for us the timing is in the morning. In the evening, it is not possible. It is difficult to chant. So this knowledge we need to know, na? Yes or no? What activities we
Yes, Prabhuji,
perform, we need,
understood
yeah,
now.
what activities we need to perform. Oh, greed. Can I have greed? Oh, it will be misery. Then we will avoid greed. So we need this knowledge. So this knowledge is meant to help us advance in spiritual life, like that. See, even in case of food also, vegetarian food, wholesome, pure, like that, which increases juicy, fatty, wholesome, pleasing to heart. But if we, eat too much salty, hot, pungent things, it is in passion. See, this comes in 17, okay? 17th chapter. We are going to read all this. Then it will be distress, misery. And if it is old, tell me, where does grape juice lies and where does wine lie? Wine is also grape juice only. The only problem is it is more than 3 hours. Actually, it is months and years. It is decomposed. It is fermented. And the effect is not like grape juice. The effect is madness, drunkards, right? So, similarly, we may do tapasya. It is also in goodness, ignorance, passion, dhanam, charity. Charity can also be in these three things. So, this helps us to guide us, hmm, and keep us on the right track. Getting? So many things are there. So many things.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Thank you,
yeah,
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
yeah. I mean, see, the sequence is always 1 to 18 only. Okay,
Hmm.
1 to 18. Definitely, the sequence is 1 to 18. But Krishna is like a gulab jam. From whichever side you eat, he tastes sweet. Getting?
Yes.
Krishna is like a gulab jamun. For whichever side you eat, it tastes sweet. So, one can access any other chapter. That is fine. Okay. But again, the
Yes.
Bhakti Yoga is here. So, sometimes people just go to few sections. Like, I was talking about this food and all that. Na? So, one person read about this thing, the food, and he happened to be a nutritionist. So, after reading the whole Bhagavad Gita, he came to conclusion. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to have good diet. That was his conclusion. So, that is incomplete conclusion, basically. So, that's why we recommend the sequence. You start from first chapter. Even though it is a gulab jamun, you start from one end. Okay. So yeah. So okay. Any last question or can we stop? Okay. So no more questions. So let's stop. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.